Are you trapped in a self-made prison of anxiety? Most of us are, shackled not by visible chains, but by the invisible weight of our own thoughts. The amazing thing is, you can break free in just 7 days. Skeptical? You learn to drive, use a computer, maybe even fly a plane. Why not master your own mind? Fear keeps us stuck, preventing us from taking those small steps that could change everything. That unsatisfying job you tolerate, the painful relationship you cling to, that brilliant idea gathering dust? Fear. But it's not fear itself that's the enemy. It's the ignorance fueling it. Fear thrives in the dark, born of uncertainty and a lack of understanding. I know this firsthand. I was a fireman. A secure, stable job, practically impossible to lose. A safe harbor, yet inside I felt chained. I craved more, dreamt bigger, but terror held me back. The fear of the unknown, of failure, of financial insecurity. It all made sense, until I realized my paralysis wasn't fear but a lack of knowledge. People say, I'm too scared, when they really mean, I don't know how. That's a game changer, isn't it? Fear vanishes when understanding dawns. It inhabits the voids in your comprehension. A child fears the dark because they don't know what's there. Turn on the light, and the fear dissolves. The same applies to you. Changing careers, launching a business, ending a toxic relationship, public speaking, sharing your ideas. Are you truly understanding the root of your fear, or just avoiding the hard questions? Years can be wasted avoiding a single decision, leaving your body, mind, and spirit depleted. Life grinds to a halt. Do you feel it? That invisible force dragging you back? That's ignorance. The solution? Simple. Knowledge. Not just any knowledge, but the kind that unlocks understanding, a deep understanding that transforms you from the inside out. Reading Think and Grow Rich was a portal. It unveiled a new way of thinking. With each page, my fear weakened because I understood. I understood paradigms, how thoughts create emotions, emotions drive actions, and actions produce the results I hated. I went from a fireman with no qualifications and no prospects to building a 6-figure business in my first year. It wasn't blind courage, it was profound clarity. You don't conquer fear by yelling at it. You illuminate its source, which is almost always, you don't know how. Understanding your mind empowers you. When you delve into your subconscious, the home of habits, you see that most fears aren't even yours. They're implanted, repeated, reinforced over years. Don't do that, it's risky. You're not cut out for this. It'll fail. These phrases accumulate, conditioning you. But this conditioning can be rewritten. You can train your mind to respond with faith, not fear, with action, not paralysis. But what if I fail? You ask. I ask you, what if you succeed? Have you even considered that? Einstein said the mind that opens to a new idea never returns to its original size. You're accessing new possibilities, creating space where fear loses its grip. I'm not saying fear vanishes entirely, but you'll learn to master it, to say, I understand you, but I'm doing it anyway. It's like learning to swim. Initially, fear resists, but once you understand buoyancy, movement, breathing, fear yields to confidence. Understanding replaces panic with presence, doubt with decision, fear with action. This starts now. 7 days. 7 days to study yourself, to identify your fears, to uncover what they're hiding. 7 days to discover the power that's always been there, hidden beneath the fear, the power of knowledge. You've noticed how our first instinct when facing discomfort is to silence, repress, hide it? Most people live as if acknowledging struggle is wrong, pretending everything's fine while internally exploding. And what happens to that pent-up emotional energy? It transforms. First, anxiety, then depression, finally, illness. Depression isn't a sudden storm. It's built brick by brick from unresolved thoughts. It begins with a worry, a doubt, a what if. It's subtle, but unchecked. It festers. You feed the negative thought until it becomes anxiety, your body's response to a mind racing without direction. Because nobody wants to seem weak, you pretend, you suppress, you shut down. This fear-tainted energy gets trapped in your system. That's how I almost crumbled. Early success, earning big money. Internally, I was a coiled spring, fearing failure, feeling inadequate. Not understanding, I tried to bury it under work. But that anxiety was my soul screaming, "Look at this." That knot in your throat, that chest tightness, that racing mind at night. It's not random. It's emotional buildup. Ignoring it only gives it power. Repressed anxiety becomes depression, which doesn't start with tears, but with a heavy, screaming silence. Then, everything unravels. Your body suffers, your energy depletes, exhaustion sets in, isolation follows. Why? Because you haven't learned to recognize the signals. The World Health Organization knows this. Over 300 million people globally live with depression, many never seeking help, not from unwillingness, but from not knowing where to start. How many times have you said, "I'm fine," when you were crumbling inside? Most fear admitting pain, thinking it shows weakness. It's the opposite. Strength lies in facing your feelings, acknowledging, "I'm scared, lost, but I want to understand." And the root cause is almost always uncontrolled negative thinking fueled by ignorance about your own mind. Emotions don't vanish by pretending they don't exist. Repressed emotions accumulate and your body pays the price. So, when worry emerges, the first warning sign, act. Don't let it escalate into anxiety, depression, illness. Healing starts with awareness. Recognizing your feelings strips power from what's controlling you. Worry is fear disguised as logic. I'm just being responsible. I'm just considering the worst-case scenario. But you're letting assumptions rule you. Question your thoughts. Is this fear real or fabricated? Is this happening now or is it imagined? Am I in control or feeding a mental drama? Ask these questions, write down the answers. This simple practice can prevent deep cycles of anxiety and depression, restoring a lightness you'd forgotten. I've seen people, lost and suffocated, find relief after understanding this cycle. Worry, fear, anxiety, repression, depression. It's like a light switch flipping. They stopped fighting symptoms and addressed the cause, a lack of understanding of how their thoughts shape their reality. You aren't anxious. You're experiencing anxiety, and you can change that. But it requires stopping the flight and starting to learn, to understand, to transform. This is the difference between a silent suffering cycle and a conscious healing cycle. The choice is always yours. Faith and fear demand the same thing, belief in the unseen. Faith says, believe it will work out, even without proof. Fear says, believe it will fail, even before it happens. Both reside in the invisible, fueled by your imagination. The difference is the movie you're projecting. Most feed fear as if it's natural, automatic, uncontrollable. It's not. Fear reflects where you choose to focus, a choice you may not realize at first, as your mind has been programmed to imagine the worst. But once you understand, you can rewrite the script. When you realize you're the author of your daily narrative, everything shifts. This is where faith enters, not blind religious faith, but inner strength based on understanding, not hope. Faith built on how your mind works, how thoughts create feelings, and how feelings shape your reality. When I applied these principles, I was ordinary, uneducated, unconnected, inexperienced. I had a book, a desire to change, and a choice: believe I could or feed the idea of impossibility. My logic screamed impossibility. Nothing suggested success, but I chose to believe, not because I had proof, but because I understood how the universe responds to your vibration. And faith, based on understanding, changes your vibration. Have you seen someone with everything going for them yet perpetually stuck, paralyzed by fear of failure? Extraordinary potential trapped in self-created scenarios? Their faith was misdirected. Fear is faith invested in tragedy. Years of this create a belief in your destiny, but it's a reflection of what you choose to imagine, repeat, feel. And that's changeable. Consider Walt Disney, fired from a newspaper for lacking creativity. The creator of a creative empire rejected for lack of creativity. Had he believed that label, given into fear, you wouldn't know his name. He believed in the invisible, had faith in what others couldn't see, and that faith shaped his reality. How many ideas have you abandoned? How many times sabotaged yourself before trying? Because you chose to believe the worst. How many feared outcomes actually happened? How many existed only in your head? Neuroscience shows the brain doesn't clearly distinguish reality from intense imagination. Imagining failure and engaging emotionally makes your body react as if it's real. Racing heart, changed breathing, weakened immunity. Reverse it. Imagine success, victory. You'll feel an immediate shift. Your body aligns with the idea, your vibration changes. This is real. The universe responds to your vibration, not your lip service, but your heart's belief. Claiming victory while feeling fear lets fear win. You can change this now. Train this new way of thinking. It won't happen overnight, but in 7 days you'll feel the transformation. Replace each fearful thought with a faith-based thought grounded in understanding. When fear arises, and it will, ask, what am I believing? Fact or negative hypothesis? Choose what to believe, reinforce the positive vision, feel it as if it's already real. This practice becomes your new identity. Faith, when nurtured, builds realities once deemed impossible. Will you keep believing the worst, knowing fear is a choice? Or will you use that same power to believe in the best and create a new reality? The decision is yours. Your body reflects your mind. This isn't philosophy, it's science. Every thought, every belief alters your body's vibration, shaping your behavior, speech, movement, life. Tension, worry, fear create fatigue, rigidity, pain, illness. Calm, confidence, clarity create lightness, energy, health. Decades ago, I discovered the work of Russian scientist Semyon Kurlian, who photographed human energy. This energy changed color, density, and form based on thoughts. Positive, focused thoughts yielded bright energy. Negative, confused thoughts weakened it. Your thoughts don't stay in your head. They shape your energy, what you transmit to the world. Some people change a room's atmosphere with their presence, smile, eye contact. Others create heaviness without speaking. That's vibration, created in the invisible mental realm before manifesting physically. This shifts your perspective. You stop being a victim of external circumstances and adjust the source of your reality, your vibration. When you feel good inside, things flow. People treat you better. Opportunities arise, ideas flow. When you're bad, confused, insecure, everything seems to stop. Traffic jams, problems, even objects seem to conspire against you. It's not coincidence, it's resonance. You're aligning your life with your internal vibration. Harvard Medical School research shows positive emotions, gratitude, optimism, purpose, boost dopamine and serotonin, well-being neurotransmitters, while lowering cortisol, stress hormone. The body responds directly to thought quality. What's your body saying today? Lightness or tension, vitality or silent exhaustion? This question changes everything. If it's negative, you don't need an external solution, a miracle, or a life overhaul. You need internal realignment. This starts with daily decisions. When you wake, what are your first 10 minutes like? Are you programming yourself for another day of pressure, rush, and fear? Or are you consciously controlling your mental state? Most react upon waking, grabbing their phone, encountering bad news, work problems, bills. Their bodies go into alert mode. But what if you start consciously? Breathe deeply. Decide how you want to feel and act. That alone shifts your vibration. When the vibration changes, the world responds differently. I remember a young man seemingly healthy, with a good job yet lacking energy, enthusiasm, direction. experiencing continuous fatigue despite enough sleep. I asked, "How do you feel before starting your day? Feeling utterly drained, like you're wading through quicksand just trying to get through the day?" You're not alone. Many of us get stuck in a rut, our minds cluttered with negative self-talk, weighed down by past experiences that feel like anchors. We believe the world is the problem, when really, it's our perspective. It's not about changing the world. It's about shifting your internal energy, starting with your thoughts. This isn't some magical fix, but a journey of self-discovery, a process of understanding how your mind truly works. It's about practical application, not just accumulating information. We're bombarded with self-help gurus, endless courses, and data overload, yet many remain stuck. Why? Because knowledge without understanding is inert. Understanding is the key. It's about deeply grasping how your internal landscape shapes your external reality. It's the difference between knowing about something and truly knowing it in your bones, feeling it so profoundly that it changes your behavior. I know firsthand. I used to be a prime example of failure. No education, dead-end jobs, zero discipline. I was the poster child for living paycheck to paycheck, convinced that success wasn't for me. Then something shifted. I started to study the mechanics of the mind, and everything changed, gradually but radically. I realized my results weren't dictated by fate or luck. They were the direct reflection of my deeply ingrained beliefs that were, frankly, completely skewed. No one taught me how to think, only what to think. They emphasized memorization, obedience, conformity. They never equipped me to build powerful mental images, challenge my limiting beliefs, or consciously craft a new narrative for my life. The mind, I realized, is like a garden. If you don't cultivate it intentionally, it'll become overrun with weeds, self-doubt, limiting beliefs, and toxic thought patterns that aren't even yours. The scariest part? You get used to it. You start thinking it's just who you are, but it's not. It's simply a lack of understanding. Millions live this way, diagnosing themselves with low self-esteem, poor focus, or bad luck, when the root issue is a lack of self-awareness. Misinterpretations become your prison. Everything you desire lies on the other side of deep understanding. Want more money? Understand how wealth is generated. Better health? Understand the factors impacting your well-being. Peace? Understand what fuels your inner turmoil. Applying this principle transformed my income from under $4,000 a year to over $1 million in less than 5 years. No fancy degree, no powerful connections, no sophisticated business plan, just a total mental overhaul. This isn't magic, it's mental mechanics. Understanding not only dissolves fear, but cultivates unshakable faith. A faith grounded in knowledge, not blind hope. It's like learning to fly a plane. Terrifying at first, exhilarating once you master the controls. The more you understand life's mechanics, the more confidently you'll navigate it. This isn't reserved for the elite. It's accessible to everyone, regardless of age, background, or education. The human mind is remarkably malleable. It changes, and when you change your mind, you change your energy. Change your energy, change your results. But this comes with a price: responsibility. You must commit to self-study, self-awareness, and consistent practice. Think of it like learning a new language. Initially confusing, then increasingly meaningful, ultimately leading to fluency. The language of understanding is the same. First, you're a stranger to it. Then you find yourself within it. And finally, you break free. Stop searching for quick fixes. Start cultivating clarity. Clarity about who you are, how your mind operates, and what fuels your fears and limitations. Once you understand, you control, and when you're in control, you move from what if to how. That's the difference between a life lived on autopilot and a life fully lived. Most people are trapped by the past, not the past itself, but their interpretation of it. How often have you replayed a past failure saying, "This always happens to me"? Used old mistakes as excuses for inaction? These are subtle poisons, slowly infiltrating your mind. This almost derailed me. I had a terrible self-image not because of reality, but because of my deeply held beliefs. Years of hearing, "This isn't for people like you," or "Life's tough, just accept it," had ingrained limiting beliefs. Then I realized, the only thing holding me back was the self-image I'd projected onto myself. A narrative built on distorted memories, uninformed opinions, and unprocessed trauma. Have you done the same? Taken negative experiences and turned them into labels defining who you are? Your brain isn't a camera. It interprets, reconstructs, and blends emotion, perception, and belief to create a narrative. That narrative becomes yourself. But is it real, or a distorted version born of unresolved memories? I discovered I could rewrite my story. I transformed from the uneducated, undisciplined, not good enough guy into the man who built a global company, changed thousands of lives, and created a new narrative. Not because the past changed, but because I changed its meaning. You might be imprisoned by something you should have released years ago. Shame, unresolved failure, or unprocessed trauma. The past only exists as long as you keep telling the same story. Change the story, change the impact, change the impact, change the emotion. Change the emotion, change the energy, change the energy, change your present and future. Remember, your subconscious manifests in your body. Unresolved past trauma becomes physical and emotional weight. But what if you viewed those memories differently? As lessons, fuel, not a prison, but a launching pad. Viktor Frankl said, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Choose to give new meaning to what defined you. The past loses its paralyzing power. It becomes a lesson, a foundation, not a cage." This isn't about erasing the past. It's about unburdening yourself from it. You're not defined by your wounds. You are defined by what you choose to build from them. For the next 7 days, choose a negative memory, understand the lessons, and rewrite it as a strengthening narrative. Read it daily, aloud. Be amazed by the impact on your energy, confidence, and inner freedom. What you understand, you transform. The past is merely fertile ground for your own personal renaissance. Fear only holds power where understanding is absent. When you grasp how your mind works, how your emotions are formed, how your beliefs shape you, you are no longer controlled. You control. You no longer react automatically, carry the weight of the past, or let negative thoughts dictate your decisions. You have clarity, and clarity is freedom. If this resonated, it's time to take the next step. Watch the video now to ascend to the next level of self-understanding and become a better version of yourself. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next video.